Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nikon Creators Hour. I am your host, Mike Corrado. I've been with Nikon for 35 years and taking pictures for over 40. And we're continuing on this series of great conversations with photographers on their defining images. And today, live with us, we have Joshua Dwain from Brooklyn, New York. Joshua, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Mike?
So great to see you. So great to catch up. I know it's been a crazy few months with you and wedding photography, but that is the gist of our conversation today is the wedding work that you do. I know you and your wife, Anika, work together as international photographers. So, thank you for being here on the show. We'll talk a lot about your career and the defining images that you have sent along, which I think is going to be a great, great conversation. But of course, I would love to start off by asking you, how are you and Anika doing? What's going on in your world right now?
We're doing well. Things are picking up slowly. I think the beginning of this whole pandemic was a bit of a shock to us. We're usually always working, and we got a few months off. That few months off proved and felt like a vacation. And you can't complain about any vacation that you have. I mean, it's the vacation under terrible circumstances, but it was a much needed break nonetheless. We've been doing pretty good.
But you guys travel quite a bit. I know most of the work you do is around the New York, D.C. area, but you've been to the Caribbean and Mexico, Europe and Canada shooting weddings. How long have you guys been doing this as a business?
As a business, we've been doing this for about 12 years.
Very cool. Talk a little bit about you, though. And if your wife wants to make an appearance, great. Your daughter wants to pop in, that's totally cool, too. If the cat or dog, if you've got one, that's totally all right. We're loose and we're ready to go here and ready for anything. But take us back, because I love to know this. I've never had this conversation with you before, but, how did you get started in photography? Where'd that passion come from? And when that, match was lit, of that passion, you've turned it into this beautiful business. Talk a little bit about the journey of your career.
Okay, sure. So just to start, I've been always present in sort of in an artistic world. I grew up drawing and doing creative things, painting and mixed media. I was always that person doing that. And that sort of segued into photography once I got into high school. And the real reason why I actually did do photography and not the architecture class in high school was solely because the girls were in the photography class. They wanted their photos taken, and that's where I needed to be as a young adolescent boy who got no attention from girls. I sort of knew where I needed to be at that time.
I find that hard to believe. You're a handsome man, but continue on.
Thank you. But in all seriousness, I always did enjoy photography. But growing up as a child and drawing, you don't necessarily care what you're going to do for the future. You just know what you like. So taking photos for me, or even getting into photography class, was just an easy task for me. Like I felt right at home as soon as I got into photography, because being creative and trying to do things in a creative way has always felt natural to me.
And you mentioned school a little bit. Are you self-taught as a photographer? Talk a little bit about your business background too, because obviously you and I have a similar path. The parallel is art, and I was a design graphics major before I ever invested in photography, although I dabbled a little bit along the way. Obviously you're running a business here, so you have to kind of mix the passion of imaging with photography. How do you start a business? How did you get this all started?
Funny enough, I had a blog, and the blog was just really a collection of images that I took. And I shared this blog with a friend of mine who I thought I was going into business with. And we would just post our images to the blog. It would just be people, inanimate objects, a street, selective color at the time. We just posted whatever we liked in our blog, and I posted the link on Facebook. And a friend of mine called me she called me on a Saturday morning, and she was, she just woke me up really ecstatic. And she said, "Josh, I'm getting married. I want you to take my photos." And really that was the start of me even exploring any sort of interest in the wedding world, because before that, as a 24, 25, 26-year-old guy. I didn't care about weddings. I just cared about creating and taking pictures.
And so you have to now build a business. So that first wedding, what do? You give it away for free,
Well, no.
or you charge a nominal price? Talk a little bit about how you then transition into business and what have you done and learned along the way. I think people tuning in kind of want to hear that part of the story.
Yeah, sure. So it still didn't translate into business for me at that point. It was more or less my friend needs these photos and I need to deliver. I convinced her that she needed a actual photographer, and I probably wasn't the right person for the job. But we agreed that I will still take photos at her wedding. I was the Uncle Bob at weddings, is showing up and sort of taking photos. But I remember she called me in February, and her wedding wasn't until August. So I had a bit of time to develop my craft as not necessarily a wedding photographer, but sort of familiarize myself with how weddings are done. Being a photographer, we know that you just don't pick up and be any sort of photographer or do any genre of photography well immediately. Whether you are a natural wildlife photographer, or you're a wedding photographer, or portrait photographer, or fashion photographer, they're all different lines. So I use that time to sort of get my bearings in weddings, and I started on Craigslist. I started just sort of making my services available on Craigslist by saying I will assist for free. I let people. I mean, at that time, I considered myself a portrait photographer because that's all I was really doing, and getting money for it. So I said, okay, I'm a portrait photographer looking to get in weddings, and I'll assist. I don't need any compensation. I just want to show up and just want to sort of be there. And it was really rough in the beginning, just sort of understanding what weddings was about and how to shoot them and do them in a way that was expected of wedding photographers. I think that was the biggest thing, trying to overcome that hump and understanding what should be done. I think I had I want to say a good teacher. He played a role of more of a mentor. He didn't pay me at all, but a photographer that I sort of met on Craigslist, gave me the bearings and took me to weddings. And after I took the photos, he would critique them and he would tell me what I should be doing and tell me what was good. And that lasted probably for about 4 weddings, unpaid. I was like, I'm not giving up my Saturdays anymore. And then I tried to assist other photographers in getting more, I guess, experience with the way and styles of other people. That brings us to August, with a few weddings under my belt and thinking I know everything in wedding photography. I showed up at my friend's wedding, and I think the photos were amazing. For me at that point in time in my career, I had a little spat with the actual photographer the day of the wedding. He had no idea I was coming. He was a bit annoyed that I was following him around or taking his spots or showing up in the background of the photos. Rightfully so. It was probably poor etiquette, but I honestly didn't consider him at that time. And my friend made it known to me that she said, "Hey, I asked you to be here. I want you to take my photos."
Right, you have to remind yourself of that, but you also respect the space of the other photographer.
Exactly. It was a learning experience for sure. But after that wedding, I literally remember probably 2 days after that, just going online, getting joshuadwain.com and posting my images that I took at her wedding and calling myself a wedding photographer from that day on.
That's awesome. And again, I love this journey between you and your wife. You work weddings together. I am going to call you out on something I read on your website that
Sure.
says, when you guys first met, one of you was thinking marriage. And if I asked you, were you thinking marriage to both of you at the same time, it suggested that we get 2 different answers. Who was smitten by who first?
Unfortunately, I have to say that it was my wife only thinking about marriage initially.
Well, it's not unfortunate.
There's a good reason for that.
You've changed the errors of your ways.
Well, no, there's a good reason for that. When I met my wife, I was dating someone else. So
okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah, so it's a bit different. I just didn't sort of curve my wife and not necessarily want her. I just had to respect boundaries.
Well, I want you to guys exist well in the pandemic, so I'm going to leave this conversation alone
Thank you,
at this
Mike.
point, because everybody's probably chiming in and saying, what the hell is he talking about? But let's definitely go over to your pictures, start talking about the work that you have presented to us, these images that you have selected as your defining images. And I'm going to kind of let you run with the conversation. I'll guide a little bit along the way over here, but you have chosen this image for a reason. Talk about it. What do we got going here, Joshua?
So this is the first image, so the first photo that I took that was displayed in a gallery. I took this photo, I believe, in 1998 or 1999. I was a high school student, and this was my first summer job at the Brownsville Recreation Center in Brooklyn. And I brought my camera to work. For me, I just love to take photos. And I saw that there were moments throughout the day, I remember, that I wanted to take a photo, but I was very timid. I'm a documentary photographer at heart. There is something in me that loves images that are uncontrived, that are not coached or posed. Even though, a bit of my work right now is, portraiture and pose and all that. From a core, I do love images that are uncontrived, such as this. And it was just three little girls just hanging around the water fountain. You don't really see this too often, which kind of speaks now to history. But it speaks to the time that this was taken. They were just kind of playing in a playground, and I saw the photo, and I remember being very timid and just kind of convincing myself that I need to at least take it. And this was taken on film, so you don't really get that many exposures and that many times to try that we would get right now in the digital space. And this is it. And I picked this one because a lot of things that we do now in photography, I had to do it then. I remember the area by the gate was heavily overexposed, and I had to burn that down. It was just sort of like a learning challenge of, I want to get this image in a gallery. My teacher thinks it's strong enough. What can we do to sort of get this image to a better place? And it's not the best image, but I do believe in the best at a certain time. And this was the very best that I could produce at 16 years old, I believe I was.
And that's so amazing. I'm glad you brought this image up as your first. A lot of others that I've interviewed did the same thing, more of a chronological history of their life. But what's so important about this is it's that constant reminder that, when people see your work, they don't realize you started somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. And that reminded me of the time with old black and white film, running around Hicksville, New York, to stables and different places and trying to shoot pictures, and, doing that through college and not really being great at it. But it is where you learn. You don't learn by not doing. You learn by doing and making the mistake. And I think it should be a common thing that people understand it's okay to make those mistakes and start somewhere. But I think, to me, I draw back on what one of our ambassadors, Ron McGillow, he says, a great image is not one that's technically a great image. It's the one that makes you smile or remember something so important in life. And I love that you have started off with this image. And I know we have quite a few to go through, but let's talk about this. And let's now talk about how, what's different between that photo and now all of a sudden this photo, and you're well into your wedding business.
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't really well into my wedding business at this point either. I think this is the year following the first wedding, which is this is the second couple that booked me. Actually paid me money to come to their wedding and take photos, which to me was ridiculous at the time. Sight unseen, I had no wedding album. The wedding that I actually had was the one of my friends. It was just a collection of images. It wasn't a full wedding. I just was sort of shooting around. And this couple decided to take a chance on me. And I am eternally grateful to them. They've celebrated 11 years of marriage, I believe, this past month in July. And I felt like I remember distinctly feeling like a wedding photographer at this point. Like, I didn't have the portfolio I have now. I didn't have the experience or the clients or the access or anything at this point. But I remember taking this picture and just being so proud of myself. And it's funny because I don't feel that very often. And even now, it's you're always trying, as a creative, you're trying to be better, and you're trying to show your clients and show the world and make them be happy of the products, not product, but the images that you've created. And I never felt like that while taking this picture. Like I just felt happy. Like it was a feeling within me. I just felt happy that I had the opportunity to take this. I felt grateful to them. And I felt not necessarily that I arrived, but I felt like I just didn't have anything holding me back anymore. Now I was trying to prove to everyone else that this is something that I can actually do.
I think that's a fascinating story. And, you know, again, so now instead of this being well into your career, this is a short term. What do you do to learn? What do you do to educate yourself? What do you do to inspire yourself? Are you going to workshops at all at this point? Are you counting on others, you know, like that mentor you mentioned before? What inspires you? Because some people say it's movies, some people say it's art, you know, painting. What is it that inspires you at this point to better the craft?
Are you talking about now, or are you talking about
At this point, when you took this photo, like, are you looking to other people to educate? Are you looking to other people to be inspired?
So at this point, unfortunately, I wasn't doing workshops. And I say unfortunately because I know that it would have amplified my growth tremendously if I had. But at this point, it was really just online. I mean, it was annoying how many blogs I went through. I think there was this thing called like Blogger or something that you can sort of Google Blogs, that you can capture all of the RSS feeds of bloggers at the time that you followed and just kind of just go through all of them instead of just going to different websites. And I drew inspiration from a lot of wedding photographers. It's not something that I do now, but I at that point, I think it was pivotal because I needed to. I didn't have the understanding or the etiquette or even the mindset of what it takes to make a bride happy or see what she likes and understand what she likes. I mean, looking at this photo, I can tell I didn't know that, you know, like the dress is sort of crumpled and wrinkled. I wouldn't necessarily hold her bouquet in that way or fashion. So I was just drawing inspiration just from, you know, online basically. There was no Instagram or anything at that point. It was just looking at people's websites.
Right. And speaking of Instagram, those of you tuning in, Joshua Dwain is Joshua_Dwain on the Instagram site. So by all means, check out some of his work. It's phenomenal. You already mentioned your website, joshuadwain.com, joshuadwain.com. And can't get these words out. But yeah, check out his website too, because that also gives you a great sense of the business he's created, because it is a business website with galleries. So check him out. And following this interview, he's got an AMA, Ask Me Anything, on the Nikon USA Instagram page. So if you have more questions for Joshua, by all means, jump into that talk.
Mike, can you my daughter's name?
Huh? Hi.
Hey, I'm on.
He's live here.
Can she say hi?
Real quick.
Come say hi, Tori. Come on, just say hi. Because she's not going to
love it.
She says hi. Say hi.
Hi.
Right.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Bye.
Beautiful. She's beautiful, Joshua.
Thank you.
So talk about this image. Bring us back. You talk about emotion, the love of your daughter. Talk about the emotion here. This is a beautiful moment. Beautiful moment.
Yeah. So I absolutely love this image. I think what I remember a lot about this time was that I remember I was on a path to really capture genuine moments. Like I mentioned Uncontrived before, how much I loved it when I took the photo of the little girls in the park. But now it's more or less execution. It's in an uncontrolled environment. It's something that I'm not necessarily skilled and talented at, but I want to know how to get there. And I think around this point was where I started to really hone in on the art of capturing genuine, authentic moments.
I see it. And I loved how you critiqued your picture before about what you didn't like. Is this now a moment where you're still learning, or do you love this? You love the composition? Is there anything you change about this photo?
I do. I would change a few things. One, it was shoot more. I think I could have gotten a little bit better I could have tweaked the frame a little bit better. So I know why. It's funny, I'm critiquing my vision, but I know why I veered more to the left, because you could see the best man in between the bride and the groom. And so I'm trying to sort of position myself where you don't see him, but you only see the bride and groom. And it's, I don't know if people can assume, but the person that's standing in front of the groom is the bride. The shoulder that we see is the bride.
I read that as that, yeah.
One thing that I didn't care for is that the rogue hand on his shoulder. I wish that would have been not there, but again, these are things that we can't control. And
that's a great point for any wedding photographer. And I've done this, and this is why I lose my marbles photographing weddings and I don't do them much. So I congratulate you and any other wedding photographer for the business you've chosen to be in. But you're right. I think the most important point is you live in that world. You are confined to the space that you can shoot within. And I remember in a place where there was a small ceremony in a small little room, which is probably the last wedding I ever did 7, 8 years ago, is that you can only shoot what's there, right? Yeah. To create that moment. And I think it's a beautiful moment regardless, because even though you see that hand, you don't see the hand. I go right to him. Yeah. And that's the beauty of the moment. So thank you for sharing that. And again, it's not easy to talk live about vulnerabilities in the learning process, but I think it's clear when people start to see some of the latest work you've done. This is a great journey on how you grow as a photographer, and your work is spectacular. So let's roll on. We got a man's room and we've got a bride. What's happening here?
So in this image, we were running a little bit behind, and I think it was just like right after the first look. The bride and groom had already seen each other, and we're preparing to go into the ceremony. One of the things I do like, or I try to do on wedding days, is not necessarily take the photos that the bride expects, or the photos that anyone takes, for that matter, but take the pictures that happen during the moments that we don't expect. And I often tell brides when I'm meeting them, I know you're expecting a picture with mom or dad, or a picture with your bridesmaids, a picture getting into your dress, or somebody zipping it up. You may be walking to the limo, or the groom the bride walking down the aisle, the groom looking at the bride. I know those are the things that you expect. First kiss, all that stuff. My duty and job is to create images that you do not expect whatsoever. Because there are little micro moments that happen throughout the day that are also as special, or as meaningful, or can hold some meaning throughout the wedding day, that they're not necessarily expected, or not quote unquote wedding photographs. So I pride myself on shooting during the transitional moments. So if we're going from the door from the entrance of the church into the ceremony space, I know that there are moments happening there. Either it's a bride being very tense, or a dad sort of looking on his daughter, flower girls looking up at the bride, kids playing around where the bride is trying to have a moment of silence before she walks through. There's so many things that happen during those transitional times. I really do try to pride myself on capturing those images that the world doesn't necessarily see, or is even used as marketing material, because ultimately that's what we see for the most part, is marketing material. But I do feel that there's a very important role as photographers that we can take as wedding photographers, in showing wedding images that aren't necessarily typical. Fumbling, sorry.
No, I get it, because again, this is all part of the growing process. So when you're talking with brides and grooms ahead of time, when you're booking all this, you make it clear to them you're going to shoot what they expect, but you're going to do some more. And so expect the unexpected, which is really cool, because to me, life is about moments. And it's kind of like a weird mix, because I remember in that last wedding I shot, they didn't want any group photos. And in a way, I guess, talk to me about how you may convince them to do that, because I did convince them to group photos. A month after or so they got married, the father that was in the group photos of the groom passed away, and all of a sudden these pictures they didn't want became so critical to them. Do you ever run into resistance with the couples that you photograph, and some of the challenges, and how do you get around them?
I do run into resistance. Not very often, but I do have a sector of people say, well, I kind of don't want the boring posed pictures, or I don't want the boring family pictures. And I let them know, like, you may feel like that today, and that might be the feeling that you have at the moment, but you're going to really want those photos. And I'm sorry, we have to take those photos because the people that are celebrating with us today are not necessarily going to be with us tomorrow. And that's the importance. And, I let them know, like, I can show you the pictures of our parents, well, not our parents, but the parents of our bride and grooms that have gone on and transitioned. And I can also show you the corresponding Facebook posts that they post, to sort of memorialize their parents or to honor them. And a lot of times it's our wedding photos that we took. And knowing that if we ever slacked on taking wedding photos, or we ever sort of agreed with the bride and groom, like, yeah, those are boring, we don't need those, the potential loss that they might feel in having all these amazing, great party pictures, or having these amazing portrait shots of them and their spouses, but missing the sort of the family aspect, knowing how they might feel later on. I have to convince them, even if it's just one group photo, even if it's just a photo with mom and dad, like just you alone, we're gonna find time to do it, because I do hold a really high importance on those photos.
Beautiful. While we're here, just talk to me about what's in Joshua's camera bag in the way of focal lengths. What are you running the day with in the way of lenses?
Funny enough, it's transitioned a bit since the pandemic. So right now, on a wedding day, well, not right now, but pre-wedding day, it would be a 35 millimeter f1.8, a 50 millimeter f1.8, and an 85 millimeter f1.8, and a 105 2.8. It's the 2.8, right? The 105, the new one.
The new one's a 1.4. Give us an extra stop
1.4.
here.
I'm sorry, 1.4. My bad.
But when you said 2.8, that wouldn't be inaccurate, because we have the 105 micro Nikkor that.
Oh, that's the one then. That's the one. That's my mic. That's my macro lens. Okay.
May I convince you into trying the 105-1.4? No, I'm just kidding.
No, for sure. And
so you're a fixed focal length person then.
I am, right? But I mean, I have a plethora of lenses. I have all the 1.4s. I just don't use them on wedding days because I'm carrying my cameras all day long, and I have a bad back now and bad wrist, and so it's better. And I'm coming from a D4, so it's better for me to have a smaller kit on the day of a wedding. And I'm also shooting with now for my portrait sessions. I do a lot of 7200, 2.8, and 24-70 now, a lot, especially being in a studio, and with social distancing and all that. Zooms are really high up on my list right now.
And I would think that you take that 24-70, 7200 into the actual wedding day too. So you mentioned pre-wedding. So the wedding day when you're running around would be the zooms as well, or would you stay fixed focal length?
Well, I'll stay fixed focal length with my smaller prize, like my 35s, because I just like that. I use that probably. I use a 35 millimeter probably like 75% of a wedding day. It's my workhorse. But I'll for sure have the 7200. I just love the look of it, so I gotta have it in my bag.
Gotcha. All right, let's roll on. I love the graphic nature of this. Talk about this. What's your motivation? What's your passion? What's happening here?
Okay, so you ever shot something and was completely like, oh my gosh, this is great, but it's not good enough. This is the feeling I had before taking this photo. We were in DC with a couple, and it's about golden hour at this point. We're getting really sort of lateral direct light coming in from the west, and it was really hard and harsh. And we were just literally walking on the steps over to a section, and I believe I saw my wife's shadow on the wall, and I was like, whoa. I just loved how defined it was. And I sort of brought the bride and groom over to this space, and we just sort of we try to figure out how we're going to create something by using the shadows and elements and just their legs.
I love it. Now, when we talked about the traditional things that people expect, when you present this to this bride and groom, are they blown away? Are they like, we get it, but we don't get it? I mean, what's the take of the bride and groom when you start to present? Because this is not your traditional wedding photo, but certainly a great execution, within that moment. And we'll talk about the quality of light next. But do they respond to this kind of stuff? I would hope.
They do, because this is something that we show in our portfolio quite often. And not only that, we place a very high importance on like having a variety of shots. So a lot of our photos won't be abstract, and a lot of our photos won't be standard, or you won't get a lot of standard and contemporary images. You will have a really good mix of both throughout the body of work that we deliver to our clients. So when seeing this, it's all high praise and it being ecstatic for what they received. I hope that's what it was. But they weren't lying.
So talk about lighting a little bit. What's your lighting package like? Are you shooting during the day, just ambient light, and looking for these golden moments or beautiful moments of light? Or are you running with some speed lights? Or what are you doing in the way of lighting?
I would say the majority of the time I'm shooting natural light. However, I'm not tied to any light whatsoever. There's never been a point in my career that I'm just tied to like, oh, I'll only do speed lights, or I'll only do natural light, or I'll only do reflectors, or I'll only do LEDs. Like literally whatever I have at my disposal, I will use it to create. I do feel that there are many ways to execute one specific image, and not necessarily one way of doing something. So when people do talk to me about lighting and what I bring to my gigs, my weddings, my engagement sessions, or my portrait sessions, I'm bringing whatever I feel like bringing at the moment. It's really just about feeling. So I might just do a shoot with just a reflector and just reflecting light from the sun. I might do a shoot with speed lights and a softbox. I might just do all natural and hard light. So for me, lighting is something that we need to use as a tool to not necessarily to just enhance our image and not be so tied up into the way it's done. I really care about the final outcome and not what I did to get there.
And that speaks to your approach in moments, because you're not going to sit there and stop the moment to put a light in. You're just going to roll with that situation, which is awesome. Exactly. So thank you for sharing that. I don't know any other way to express it. I adore this picture. I love everything about it. Talk about what's going on here.
So I can't take any credit for this image. It's one of my favorite images I've taken. The year that I took this image, it rained on quite a few of our weddings, and it was brutal. I remember distinctly, we had 4 weddings back to back, and it rained every single one of them. And a lot of times the venues inside don't necessarily go with the style aesthetic that I'm used to or that I typically like. So then we have to sort of make it work. And we were lucky enough to get some daylight pictures of the bride and groom this day, but then it just started raining during the day. And I remember feeling not necessarily satisfied with what we got. I just kind of wanted something that was just like really shocking and awe and just really potent that you would pull from this, because we just gone through 3 weddings that was just raw rain. And something that I try to do every single shoot that I do or wedding that I do is just pull at least 3 images that are my portfolio shots. So I'm consistently building my portfolio every single time I pick up my camera. That's the goal that I have. It doesn't happen all the time. Maybe sometimes it's 1 portfolio image. Sometimes I get 5 from a given wedding. And I should probably say that portfolio images is something that I feel that exemplify the range that I have and the things that I can do, and not necessarily things that I want to replicate or do later on, but this is something that I can do, and something that I feel like might differ me as a photographer from my peers. So
Absolutely.
now that I got that out of the way, the only reason why this photo happened is because my wife. Like, this is the only reason.
I knew Anika had something to do with it. My
Yeah.
vibe was Anika had something to do with
Yeah,
it.
she did. So Anika is the person, I will say, she is the one who uh, pushes me to try to create when I have doubts. Uh, this photo, I mean, it's raining. Who's going to tell a bride to come outside? It's pouring rain. It's just not a drizzle. It's not something that they can, you can't envision this photo. Like, a bride and groom can't envision what it's going to look like. So it's all based on trust. And I remember going outside with Anika. The bride and groom are inside during this reception. I remember going outside with her, and it's pouring. And we said, we're gonna, with our assistant, and we're just gonna test. We took probably about 5 frames to try to, so just get close to what we can envision, and then we'll just dial it in when the bride and groom comes. And when I saw the picture that we took, it was like, okay, all right, Anika, go get them. Because she pushed me to go to, like, Josh, just try it. You want to take a picture in the rain, just try it. You got to do it. And she's the one who likes to experiment live, like live experiments. So she pushes me to test it, and she pushes me to get the bride and groom outside. And when we took this picture, I was in awe at what we created, because it just sort of defined the wedding day. It's raining all around them. They couldn't bring their parents and family and all that stuff outside to take photos. They couldn't even enjoy the outdoor ceremony that they planned to have. But there's still a connection, there's still love. And the fact that this bride did not react because of the rain all day long. It was just all smiles, all happy because of the love that was surrounding them. Making this image and sort of having this stamped in time sort of means a lot to me, because it feels like the wedding day. This is surrounded by rain, but there's such a closeness and intimate love that they share that you can't tell. Like, in this photo, you can't even tell that the rain is bothering them.
It's amazing. And, you bring a dynamic to this too, of the happiness of a couple getting married, and that wedding day and that special day, and they're not letting the weather ruin it. I could imagine that other couples may not be the same way, and they feel, oh my God, this is tragic, it's raining. I feel like I'd want to convince them to get out in the rain, get wet, let's do some action shots, run towards the camera, that kind of stuff. But this is brilliant. Again, it almost looks so surreal that it doesn't look real. But certainly between the light, usage of light, the rain itself, I mean, it's a phenomenal photo. So,
and we did have pictures of them dancing in the rain. It is a challenge not shooting with housing and having it on your lens, and just kind of just running out there and shooting. But they made the best of a really sucky situation.
Yeah, I could imagine. Talk about this portrait.
Okay. So this photo was taken while I was on assignment for Mona Lucci magazine. This was for their winter 2019 issue. And I really, really wanted, I distinctly really wanting to, I distinctly remember really wanting to get more deeper into portraiture, because at this point, I mean, I hadn't done any magazine work specifically for them. I mean, although we've been featured in tons of magazines, we hadn't been on assignment for any magazine at all at this point. And getting the cover for this magazine put a lot of pressure on me, because it was something that I wanted to do for such a long time, and having the opportunity to do so made me happy and terrified all at the same time. Like, I've literally, since this day like happened, and before and after it, I've never been this nervous in my life. for taking photos of anything. So that's literally what I remember when taking or when viewing this image. But this was a start for me to sort of try to get into the portrait world. It was the shoot that I did that I felt I was very successful on that made me feel that I can do it. Because before this point, I was being a wedding photographer and using strobes and large strobe like that. It doesn't happen very often for me. I'm a speed light guy generally. Although I've used strobes, for a long time, I've just never done it for commission work. So I felt, or I put a lot of pressure on myself to execute this well. And then when I felt very happy after the shoot was done, I felt relieved with confidence in myself, knowing that I can, I probably can do anything I set my mind to doing.
I think that's not uncommon. I remember being tossed into a shoot with Nikon, and I'd never shot with a crew before, and all of a sudden you've got somebody working your lights, working your backgrounds, you got assistants, you got makeup artists. It just becomes a bit of an overwhelming thing. And what you just said taps into the way I felt when I first was challenged with a shoot for a brochure, and all of a sudden having to work with a crew. It's just uncharted territory, but that's part of the growing, that's part of the learning, and I love that you share that with us. Beautiful color in this image. I love I guess this is one of those color runs or some kind of ceremony, but or paint. What's going on here? Lots of color.
So my wife and I and my assistant do these trips at the start of every year, probably like around March-ish, I think, because it's before wedding season starts, and then it's my birthday. So last year we decided to go to India, and coincidentally it was during the Holi festival, the Festival of Colors. So we were in Delhi, and my goal this day was just to sort of capture the vibe and essence of Holi, but not necessarily the literal feeling of Holi, if that can translate. So I like to give myself assignments. It is what it is. So we went out, we wanted street photography photos, but we didn't want something where it was just a celebration of color. It was life as you know it, but integrated with the environment around our subjects. So these young men were just kind of hanging out on the street after just being doused and playing with the powders and the colors and just sort of hanging out. I will admit they were very curious of us. I don't know if they see many Black people in Delhi. So they were very curious of us, wanting to talk to us, wanted to see what we're taking. And I saw a moment and they were just standing there looking right at us. I mean, you can't even ask for a better posed photo than this. It seems like they seem like a boy band almost, like just kind of chilling. And
I swear to you, I thought like album cover.
Yeah,
or a promotional piece for a band, right?
It has that vibe, but I mean, this is these young boys and this their natural element, just kind of sort of just like looking right at me. And this is we spoke earlier that I don't necessarily like contrived photos, but this doesn't feel contrived. I know they're very camera aware, but they're literally just looking at me and standing there, and it was a moment that I couldn't pass up. We just sort of took the photo and it just kept it moving.
I love it. And the dude on the left totally got doused. And anyone out there that's not ever shot a color run or these colored powders during these festivals, yes, be prepared. It'll take weeks for it to come off your camera because it doesn't come off right away, especially if you're in the target of being hit. And I did something for the Sunrise Cancer Camp here we have, and they did all of the camp counselors running and doing, these powder things, and they tossed powder on them. I was right in the middle of it. I was like, I don't know that I want to be here, but man, it just does make an impactful image. But I love the way, again, the color, everything is so appealing here. And like you say, it's not missing a moment, and it doesn't look contrived. It looks like a moment of these guys being together, hanging out. You guys connect real quick. You snap the picture and look at what you got. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Really, really nicely done. You want to give credit to Anika for this one too, because I feel like she has a big influence in a lot of
No,
the successful
unfortunately,
images.
she wasn't with me on this photo walk.
Gotcha.
She was back at the hotel when we went out early morning for this,
Beauty.
and we saw. It's funny. We saw something online about women in Holly and how they were treated. So we took notes from that and decided that it probably wouldn't be best to have her out there. And funny enough, I didn't see many women out there at all. It was just boys and older men. It was like younger girls like on the street, but I didn't want a situation where I was gonna have to intervene because of how people were treating my wife. I mean, I got doused. I mean, they put powder on me as well, and I sort of didn't want anyone touching my wife. So and my wife doesn't want anybody touching her either. So we decided, well, she decided
Gotcha.
to stay back.
I love getting doused by the powder. I feel like I'm in the midst of something and I walk away with a bit of a memory, a powdered memory.
Yeah, you got war scars. And I still have powder on my camera. Till this day, I still have
I bet. Beautiful reflections, nice balance. Where are you here? Same place?
No, this is Cuba. This is Cuba a few years ago. Just kind of walking around and taking photos in the natural environment. I believe this is called I don't want to say the wrong thing because I don't want to curse. There's a waterfall.
Please don't, because our producer Brian's listening in. We want no cursing. But that's okay. Again, Cuba to me, I mean, Cuba is the destination.
Yes,
for sure. A lot of people
by the waterfront, and these guys that just fish every day. This is how they eat basically. So just trying to find a creative way and a alternative frame of how I would tell a story of just men fishing. What I love so much about this image is just the color. Like we have sort of this muted background, but then you have your oranges, your reds, your blues, and it feels just very harmonious. It gives color, and as you can tell, I love color. Color is something that that speaks to me, and I just love how they were all just doing their own thing, with the exception of the one guy that turned around to look at me on the left. That I wish I would have probably snapped at a different time, but the guy pointing he steps the photo up a little bit. No one cares that he's pointing. But I do quite enjoy this photo.
I'm going to give you a different perspective of the guy looking at us. I call it a Rockwellian moment. I don't know if you're familiar with the painter, illustrator, Norman Rockwell. He was one of the people that influenced me early on in the career. I just love the way he painted reality and painted different things where there were layers of things going on within the frame. And actually him looking back kind of creates an interest for me as a viewer too. So, but I love, like everything you just described, the lack of color, but the monochromatic sort of clouds and, bottom foreground, then you got the yellow and the red, and it's a great moment. Again, reflections, repetition, moments. I love the one guy pointing, out to the left. Everybody's kind of doing a little bit something different. Some got the pole in the water, some don't. And I think that's what makes it so impressive and interesting. You mentioned you love a color. You chose to go black and white here. This is a picture that Nikon's featured recently, but talk about the color to black and white. Why black and white here? Again, another tremendous photo. I love the moment, the styling, everything. This, I guess, is playing more towards that fashion type of shoot that you're going to, along with the weddings that you shoot. Talk about this.
Yeah, so I found myself sort of pivoting during the pandemic. I've always had a love for portraiture, like I mentioned, but just being really inundated by weddings and not necessarily having the time to think about what I want to do outside of weddings for quite a while. And the pandemic, sort of gave me that opportunity. This is a photo of my wife that I took during the pandemic, and it just happened out of nowhere. She said to me, I think we were in a room just sort of talking. My wife's a jewelry designer, and she designs earrings. And she showed me this earring, and I was like, okay, well, we sort of need to shoot it, but we were talking about styling, and she's like, well, I have this hat. And I was like, wait, the hat that we were supposed to bring on vacation like last September and you never brought it? And I've been asking about it. So like, yeah, I still have the hat. So she took it out of her closet and she put it on. And I was like, nope, we got to go outside right now. We got to go to the garage and we got to shoot right now. And this was probably this is absolutely my favorite image from that session. I chose black and white solely because, I mean, the shoot had a lot of black and white tones. She's wearing a white shirt. She has a black hat, and we shot this on the back of a B flat. So that was white, and it just felt the tonality of the image. I don't think there was ever a moment that I saw this as a color photo. I think that the gradient that the light has from dark to light, I think that lends also to a reason why I would put it in black and white. I do love color, but man, show me a good black and white and you can change my life. So this one,
absolutely. Now, do you shoot it in color and convert to black and white, or do you use the monochrome mode in the camera?
It's funny, I can't tell because I do use the monochrome mode a lot. Because I know distinctly that there are times where things call for black and white. I'll be shooting a wedding and something might be happening and I'll stop. I'll quickly go to monochrome in my camera and shoot whatever sequence that is in black and white, because to me, black and white is a feeling. It's not something that it's not. It can be a stylistic choice, but a lot of times the black and whites that I create are black and whites because I feel like they deserve to be black and white. It's not necessarily something that I can pinpoint or define why it's black and white, but I do feel a lot of times that black and white it is a feeling. And if you tie that back to some of the color pictures that I showed earlier, I don't necessarily think it would translate as well in color. For example, the bride with her leg up with the shadow on the wall, I don't think that translates really well to black and white. Or the young men in India with the holy colors on them. I think there's a clear line as something should be black and white and something should be color. And this one most definitely should be in black and white.
I would assume you're shooting in RAW, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I always do.
I think one of the greatest aspects of all of this technology when we went digital is the RAW file format. For those of you who don't know that, if you shoot it in black and white and monochromatic, you could actually, in the monochrome mode, you can actually convert back to color. You'll finish that file, the RAW file in the computer. So you have your options if you feel like maybe it didn't work out. In this case, to me, it's phenomenal. Let me bring you back full screen as we continue on. Joshua, it's been amazing, seriously, and to hear your backstory. I think a lot of people out there are going to associate with this path that you've taken of learning, and thank you for sharing some of the vulnerabilities and mistakes or things you would have changed about your own work. I think that's a great lesson to everybody, and a reminder. It makes me think of a box I have somewhere of negatives of early times when I was walking around, Hicksville shooting pictures, again, of portraits of horses and things like that, I think always remind us of that journey, that we take. So congratulations. And I guess what I'd ask you is, as you transition in to getting back into weddings, I assume that's happening for you right now. Like all of us, I think we've all reset a bit. And as my good friend John White, who we've also interviewed during the Creators Hours, it's nice to have pause. It's nice to reset and rethink about this in the direction that we're going in. But I can't thank you enough for sharing the work, sharing your insights, great insights, great work, and giving us and the audience of the Creators Hour your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, here's until that moment where we can meet again. I get to meet your beautiful wife and daughter. Thank you for her making a cameo appearance. I'm glad she got a little airtime. But again, everybody, check out Joshua's work at Joshua_Dwain without an E, D-W-A-I-N, without the E. And that's Instagram and Joshua Dwain Photography. Just Google Joshua Dwain and you'll see it come up. You'll see the fabulous work. Remember, again, he's going to jump to the AMA on Nikon USA, our Instagram page. So if you have any other questions for Joshua that I didn't ask or he didn't address, by all means, jump in. We can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Another beautiful interview with a great photographer. Thank you with Joshua. And for those of you out there, really get out there, take pictures, be inspired. Go back at nikonusa.com/creators hour. We have all the interviews posted. YouTube channel, we've got interviews posted. Great contests, great Instagram live chats, all of it going on. And we will continue that through the month of September. So thank you for tuning in. For Nikon, I'm Mike Corrado. Everybody out there, take great pictures, share them, and be safe.